All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our attendees and our panelists. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Katie Sandoval Clark, Fly's Vice President of Development, and we're so excited to host you for this third installment of our Movement for Justice series. This series is a space for Fly to share with you and answer your questions about pressing issues that are facing our youth, our communities, and our systems partners, as well as how Fly is getting involved and equipping our young people to use their voices to drive to positive change. Tonight, we have a wonderful group of panelists to talk about the power of youth voice. And we'll be specifically focusing on Fly's Youth Advisory Council model and the incredible things that our youth justice consultants are doing to make our systems more equitable and just in partnership with our local probation departments. So I will pass it to Fly's Vice President of Youth Voice and Executive Director of Santa Clara County, Susie Rivera, to tell you more.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, good evening to everyone. I'm so excited to be your moderator for tonight's session. As Katie said, I'm the VP of Youth Voice Initiatives and Executive Director for Santa Clara County for Fly. And I've been with Fly for over 20 years. And I have to say, I'm even more passionate about what I do today than the day I started. And it's because I have a chance to connect with some of the most amazing people in the world, our youth, our staff, our community, our system partners and stakeholders and supporters. And you get to meet some of these amazing people tonight on this panel. And Fly's story begins with youth and was founded on the voices of our young people, where we worked with youth who are in facilities and facing long-term incarceration. And we were so in awe of their talent and their power, and we're also saddened at the same time about what was in their future. And we continued to work with these youth and have conversations and did focus groups where they found their voice, their passion, and their power. And with their brilliant ideas and their letters of recommendation, Fly was born and our programs were created, and we continue to be effective and be in service to our youth and community to this day. We continue to be intentional about how we incorporate youth voice internally at Fly to help us be more effective in what we do, who we hire, how to effectively move to our North Star. In the last few years, we've invested more time and more energy in how we engage and tap into the brilliance of our young people and have them lead the process to elevate youth voice and elevate their voices authentically in a way that not only shifts the narratives of our youth, but shapes and shifts practices and policies, influence and change the systems that have impacted our youth for decades, and really move to a place where true justice can be served. Fly's history of elevating youth voice has been here since day one. In our advocacy work, we have a long history of forging meaningful relationships and partnerships across our community and our systems. And one of those longstanding partnerships is with the Santa Clara County Probation Department. And back in 2016, we had an opportunity to launch the first ever Youth Advisory Council, where our youth had a chance to impact changes throughout the system, throughout the county, and on a national level. And our youth had said back then and continue to say today that they have created a model for the nation. And they sure did. And probation also invested and included in their strategic vision that youth voices are important to finding viable and sustainable solutions that set our youth up for success instead of failure, and how to disrupt the harms that our youth face daily. This has gained so much attention and led to two other exciting opportunities. In 2020, we developed and facilitated Youth Advisory Council with Santa Clara County Probation again, but this time for youth in custody at the James Ranch facility. And it's been such a joy to watch these young people step into their power, make changes at the ranch, and exercise skills they didn't even know they had. And then in 2021, with all of the success that was transpiring across Santa Clara County, we began a partnership with Alameda County Probation to launch a Youth Advisory Council in partnership and be responsive to the needs for our youth in our community. And we're in our work group phase of the YAC build out right now, and you'll get to hear a little bit about that tonight. And tonight we have 4 panelists joining us to talk more about our Youth Advisory Council model and the work that the YACs are doing in our communities. And I have the honor of sharing a little bit about each of them. And I'm also very honored because I know each of them very well, and they bring so much to the world. And I'm so much better for knowing them and having them in my world, and get to be in advocacy work with them in every step of the way. The first panelist I'm going to introduce is Angel Ramos. He's a current member of the Santa Clara County's Youth Advisory Council. He's been a council member and a youth justice consultant for 5 years, and his work on the council centered on advising the juvenile justice system to create and implement positive policies and practices that benefit youth and the community. Angel shared that he joined the YAC because he was faced with carrying the stigma that's being attached to the narratives around being a criminal. And he's continually inspired to change that view to the benefit of others that face the same background and the same experience. Welcome, Angel. The next member I want to introduce is Stephanie Herrera. Is another current member of the Santa Clara County's Youth Advisory Council. She's been a member for 3 years. And Stephanie's first interaction with YAC was when she was placed on probation and was invited to attend YAC's orientation with her parents. She shared that it really shifted her perspective on her situation and probation and made her confident that she would successfully complete probation. As Stephanie says, my goal in this council is to reduce the number of youth who are placed on probation, as well as informing the community on juvenile justice system and the probation system. I've met many inspiring people and have incredible opportunities with the help of Fly, and I'm grateful I did not let my past dictate my future, and I'll continue to learn from my mistakes and my successes. Welcome, Stephanie. Our next member, Mark Utsey. I've had the honor of knowing Mark for a very long time. I'll just say 20 years, so we don't age ourselves. And he's currently a probation division manager for the County of Santa Clara. He has worked for the department since 1998. He began his career in the department as a part-time juvenile hall counselor and has been promoted throughout the ranks to manager. Mark has over 27 years of experience in working with youth in Santa Clara County in many different capacities. And Mark has earned his Bachelor's of Science in Health Science in 2000 and earned his master's degree in counseling education with a pupil personnel services credential from San Jose State University. He is active in various professional organizations, too many to name and too many to count. And in his spare time, he enjoys his family time, his friends, and golf. Welcome, Mark. And our final panelist, Jessica Peregrina, is Fly's Alameda County YAC manager. Jessica is a founder, advocate, and champion of youth voice, uplifted by generations of resilient Latinos. In her family, Jessica grounds in her work in empathy, equity, and community. Jessica has a bachelor's degree in American Studies and Development Studies from UC Berkeley. In the short time, she has coached and supported youth. She has worked in after-school programming, developed 2 youth programs, was an integral part in designing the Not More Girl campaign against gender-based violence on public transportation. Now as the Alameda County YAC manager at Fly, she's leading the launch of a youth advisory council in collaboration with Alameda County Probation Department. Welcome, Jessica. And now we're going to jump into some questions. So I have a couple of questions prepared for each of the panelists. And we're going to start out with Angel and Stephanie. And we also want to hear your questions for the panelists too. So if you do have questions, please use the Q&A function to submit your questions. And we'll try to get to all of them when we move to the audience questions later at the end of our panel. So this is going to be for Angel and Stephanie. You've been participating in Youth Advisory Council for some time now. You're really some experts, and I really love spending time with you. Tell us about your experience with the YAC and what are you really most proud of and what has been the most challenging? And we're going to go ahead and start with Stephanie, and then Angel will jump in after that.
Thank you, Susie. YAC has been something like nothing else in my life. It's been something completely different because I've been placed and prepared to be in leadership positions. And I think it was really the first time where adults really showed consistency, where they trusted me and really believed me and pushed me to develop professionally and be outside of my comfort zone. And I will forever be grateful for that, because I've now learned to be so much more confident when it comes to speaking and being in settings such as this, as a panel, which I would have never experienced until I was older and had another type of job, like a real grown-up job. But Fly has given me the opportunity to do things like this panel. One of the things that I'm most proud of is stepping into those leadership positions and growing to be confident, and also not letting probation define me. I think if it wasn't for YAC, I definitely would have kept on growing and would have not let probation define me. But I think that I got something so good out of a bad situation at the time, and something long term. I've been with YAC for 3 years now, and every single year, every single like meeting that we have, it always reminds me that I'm so grateful to have gotten something so amazing from such a bad situation and scary situation. I now realize that probation in a way really was a second opportunity for me, because it made me reflect a lot about my past mistakes, and that the path that I was going on was not the best for me and is not the path that I was meant to be on. And what has been the most challenging is probably balancing my life, school, like my other work, friends, and family with YAC. I think I've always struggled a little bit with time management and being organized, but it's something that I'm getting better at. And the Youth Advisory Council is a priority in my life, and it's something that I love so much. So definitely has to be like part of my scheduling and everything. But I think that there's a lot of things going on in my life at the same time, and that's probably been the most difficult, especially when I was younger and was in high school. And at the time, high school was kind of everything to me. I think that I really struggled balancing YAC in school, but I think I've gotten a lot better with it. And I've realized that it's super important to me and I would never want to let it go. So I just find a way to make it work. And I also have people like Susie who keep me on track and remind me about our meetings. So I will pass it off to Angel.
Thank you, Stephanie. The thing that I'm most proud of for the Youth Advisory Council is, from my own experience, it's the people that I've met. The people that I've met, they inspired me like the most. I remember the initial focus groups. I've been a part of the council for like 5 years now. I'm getting close to that exit phase now, where I'm not going to be on the council no more. And the people that I've met on that journey of being on the council have made me the most proud of them, and kind of myself for being a part of their journey, as well as them like motivating me along my journey. It's kind of the reason why I remained on the council was the people that I met on there. They had so much to contribute to the change that needed to be implemented in the practices and policies that continually incarcerate youth. They all have their own personal stories, and hearing each of their stories, it made me vulnerable enough to even be able to share my story. And that's one thing that I've been proud of, is being able to share my story. When I was first on probation, it was a thing of kind of not knowing where I was going to go. I was motivated by the single mentality that I had. You know, it was me, myself, and I. It's like, but being a part of the council changed that whole mentality. I was open to my community. I was opening to viewing people who wore the uniform and the badge as potential partners. And that's what the Youth Advisory Council is. It's a partnership of juvenile probation and the nonprofit Fresh Lifelines for Youth. And the most challenging part for me was leaving that mentality at the beginning. At first, it was kind of just being there to see how things were. What really drew me in, like I said, was the people and the community we built there, breaking bread with each other. But I always had that me against everyone else, and it changed. The challenges now is, how do we get this to more youth so they can change for the better? They can benefit from the opportunities that the Youth Advisory Council presents. It presents opportunities of professional development, being able to speak in spaces like this, being able to gain like a bit of financial support as well as emotional support. I gotta credit my professional development to Susie here, and to Julia Cuevas, and to Jasmine Davis, to to Meredith as well. All these different mentors that were part of my life. So yeah, the challenge now is, it's like, how do we share this for other youth who come from a similar background? And yeah, I'll go ahead and say that this is something that I hope will continue to thrive and build upon what it's now standing on. And it has, it's spread to the James Ranch, and you'll hear more about that later. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Angel and Stephanie, for sharing a part of your heart and your wisdom. It's always amazing to be in space with you. And I'm sure everyone is enjoying being in space with both of you. And now I want to invite our other panelist, Mr. Utsi. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know your schedule's very busy, and I have a couple of questions for you tonight. And I'll start off by just asking you to kind of tell us their experience, because you work with the Ranch YC, with the youth who are in custody at the James Ranch, just to talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Sure. Anytime you start something new, it comes with its bumps and bruises, and people are uncertainty. So there are so many different layers that we had to kind of like always be, aware of. But one thing about it, it was refreshing to see our youth that are physically incarcerated, but it doesn't mean their minds are incarcerated. So being involved with the YAC kind of created this space and opportunity for our youth to utilize their mind for positive things. Like the saying says, like, one ideal can light 1,000 candles. In the beginning stages, really soliciting the youth to be change agents could come with a little bit of challenges, because, maybe they might not think they have that power. Maybe they might not think, can I really do this? But there was a lot of self-reflecting, jousting. Some youth maybe saw opportunities could maybe weaponize this form for personal gain. However, the YAC under Susie, day one, set forth the expectations, the tone, and the charge of the group was to come. And then, and then really asking committee members to look at themselves, ask, how do you want this group to be perceived? The cream of the crop. Do you want to be leaders? Lead by example. Do you want to be problem solvers? Do you want to be thoughtful thinkers? Really asking yourself, what do you love about the ranch, and build upon that. And also ask, what are your dislikes about the ranch? Well, let's change that. It's all in the semantics of what was being told to them. So basically, it really provided opportunity to collaborate with system partners sometimes. Like when we have visitors, the first thing I do, I grab my YAC people and be like, hey, we got some people coming on the ranch. You want to do a tour? And they were like, hey, well, I'm not prepared. I was like, you're always prepared. Don't worry about it. Tell them your truth. That's it. No script, do you. And, they always people always leave the rants with in awe of like, did you tell them to say that? I don't tell them to say anything. That's just within them. When they get empowered, when they start coming to this meeting every Thursday, you know, we have an eclectic group of people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities that come together with a common goal. And I think understanding others' differences, you know, because basically we all boil at different temperatures, and, you know, but just really understanding our differences and have some commonalities makes our work that much better for them. And just for me, I observed the Yak a couple of times and just, you know, just wanted to see what they were about, because Susie likes to meet after hours, you know, after a lot of people are gone, you know, about 5:30, but just really just hearing the conversations about accountability, you know, responsibility, how they want to set examples. It sold me on a lot. And I can tell you, all my staff that come in and listen to the Yak meetings, they always have positive stuff to say. They was like, I didn't know that was happening. And, you know, it's pretty much like, it's an attitude that's really catching. I think just being a part of creating the logo at the very beginning and talking about the dress code for meeting kind of like inspired me to keep on coming back to these meetings and see what do they have next and what tasks are they going to get challenged with. I think for them, no one's out of reach. If they have a question, a request, sometimes I get emails saying, hey, we have these questions for you. And it sets, and I have to set examples. I have to be there. I have to answer for them to let them know that you did the proper way of asking, and I'm going to come and I'm going to be available for you. Also, they give like weekly correspondence of what they're working on, the questions that they need answer to, and things, items that are going to keep me in tune about what's going on as a manager with the progression of this group. So I'm really just like, I have the best kind of like thoughts of when this group happens. I know the people that are involved in that group are really trying to be the leaders of their specific pods. And they want to lead by example. I mean, they want to make sure that when staff say, hey, you're a part of the Yak, then yeah, they say great things about this particular youth, you know, and this is what's been happening on. So now you have a feeding frenzy where a lot of people at the ranch, a lot of kids at the ranch want to be a part of the Yak. But, you know, hey, they have an onboarding system, and, you know, they have to make sure that you are Yak quality before you get onboarded. And you have to prove yourself to you get onboarded. And I can't say anything negative about it. It's such enlightening to see what's going on with these kids and how their eyes light up come Thursday because they know Susie's coming. And so it's really good for that. So let's talk about, I think you have another question for me.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Mark. My next question is, you know, what do you think has really been the biggest impact of the Ranch YC so far? I know you got to talk a lot about the experience, but what do you think is the biggest impact so far?
It's a lot, but let's talk about some anecdotal stuff, and let's talk about other stuff. I think just overseeing the ranch process to make sure they're youth sensitive now. We have a youth voice. It's ingrained in us. Like as adults, we make our policies and procedures and say, this is the best interest of what we're trying to do. But a lot of times we lose that voice or that input from the people that it's directly affecting. This kind of like makes us always have something to remind us, let's vet it through this group. It makes it so much easier for us to vet everything through this group. So when I say vet the things through the group, here's some of the things that we kind of like also vet through the group. We had, for example, big impact, food menu. Kids were complaining about food. They didn't like what was on the menu. And we tried to figure out why. So basically, they set up an arena to talk about this. What is it? Write down. Just don't say what you don't like. Explain why you don't like it. And it's solution-based. What are the solutions to it? And let's ask the proper questions. So they were able to formulate questions. We got the director over the food that come in and sat down in this arena. They basically asked the questions. They came to some type of compromise where they actually changed the menu. I didn't know there were things that were taken off the menu before that they wanted more on the menu. So things like that, they were able to make these changes. They wanted certain things, like they asked questions about hygiene products. And I was like, let's talk about it. So they know when they bring up something, they have this whole curriculum of things that they have to do before they bring it to me. And as they bring it to me, and it's so great. So we bring the people in front. So they've talked to the people that was over the ordering in FAS and asked questions. They were explaining that we order these things. Can we order different things? Yes, we can. We start ordering different things. Another area was their laundry. They were complaining, sometimes my laundry gets damp. It's not dry. So we came out, they explained the process. They explained how we do things. And they came up with this compromise. Give them an extra laundry bag. Maybe they can separate their clothes a bit different. Those things were working. And something near and dear to my heart is we have this, we call it legacy. It's kind of a dated gym area with weights, old weights. And that was one of the things. So in collaboration with COE and SV Creates, we basically found a way to basically refurb the gym area. The kids are helping the artists really repaint the whole gym, the weight room area, with YAC principles in there, with inspirational words, and the kids are actually helping, like in a big graffiti style thing, and it's absolutely fantastic. They've been doing so well with this, and I just smile every time I go by that gym to see the work, see the kids working on it, because that's something they're putting their energy into, and they're putting their hard sweat equity into to see the fruits of their labor. So also, recently, as Susie's been doing this work, creating this YAC space. This is something recently, and I said it makes sense. They come in, they want to do work. They need to have a dedicated space. So it's like, we just talked about this yesterday, but we're dedicated. Me and the program coordinator have been going around different places for really looking for a space. They need thinking space. They need a place to call their own, to put up their stuff, to make sure that they're doing the work that they are proud of doing. So maybe when they have visiting, they can show their parents, like, look, this is our space. This is our thinking pod. Hopefully that translates to when they go home, continue that thinking space. Other things I see that is basically impactful is like buy-in from YAC Council. I mean, I really like that they look forward to this time. They look forward to seeing Susie and having those conversations. And it's not just easy work, because I remember I was in there one time just seeing them, and she had them preparing for public speaking. And I was like, well, isn't this something? And those kids were just getting grilled, but they, you know what? It comes out that you had one kid who was super duper introvert. Before, when he left the Reds, he was speaking out. He was talking. He was comfortable with talking in front of people because, he was talking his truth. And that's what it is. YAC lets you talk your truth. It spreads the word. They're going to do a presentation to our staff, because even though our staff know of many programs we have at the ranch, we want them to really understand what this YAC is about, have focus groups, and ask questions, because slowly and surely staff are really trying to figure out, like, hey, I want to see more about this, because this is a good thing that's going on. And for staff actually start seeing these kids that are participating changing as a part of this stuff. So we love it that the youth actually have a voice. They really have a true voice, and they really oversee any processes to kind of like make sure they have that youth voice. Another impact thing is the learning piece. You know how people say about learning, you 10% of you learn 10% of what you read, 20% of what you hear, 30% of what you see, 50% of what you both see and hear, 70% of what's being discussed. The 80% is what we experience personally. The 90 is what we teach somebody else. I definitely think YAC is kind of like benefiting from each one teach one. They are teaching these things and they're learning about it. And I think it helps that the growth that they're getting here from being a part of this little forum, it exceeds the wall. And like they say, like one of my little favorite guys, my poet Emerson says, unless you try to do something beyond what you've already mastered, you'll never grow. And I think these kids are really trying to see that they have also they can dream to grow, they have the ability to grow, and now basically they're getting the tools from YAC to know that they can grow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Utsi, and definitely a favorite part of my week, to be able to spend time out there with the boys at the ranch, for sure. So thank you so much for sharing all those words and experiences and the impacts that the young people are having out at the ranch. And now I want to invite our final panelist, Jessica. And I have a couple of questions for you, Jessica, as well. And the first question is, I mean, you've been leading the efforts to create and launch the YAC out in Alameda County with partnership with Alameda County Probation Department. Tell us a little bit about that process. You know, what's been done? What are you working on now? And yeah, get into that.
Yes, hi everyone. Hi Susie, thank you for that introduction earlier. And you know, I'm really excited to tell everybody about what we've been doing here in Alameda County. But before I start, I do want to uplift the work that you, Susie, and the director of Alameda County, Jamila, have been doing and spearheading that work before I came on board last September. It's just crazy to think about. It's been more than 6 months that I've been doing this work alongside Jamila and our partners at the Probation Department in Alameda County. And so let me start by saying that back in October, we started doing some focus groups out in the community with CBOs, with youth in the facilities. We really wanted to ground our work within what our young people are going through right now, what are the experiences that they're going through, what are they sharing about their time within, you know, the facilities or their experiences within the juvenile justice system here in Alameda County, so that when, you know, we do launch the Youth Advisory Council in May this year, coming to you soon, we are grounded in true experiences from our youth. We were able to speak to almost 80 young people around the community. We were in the facilities, you know, we were doing virtual in-person focus groups, really led with a restorative justice lens. And after the focus groups, we are now doing what we're calling our work groups. And we have about 4 different collective of young people in the facilities and in the community sharing what they think the Youth Advisory Council should focus on, what it should look like, what are the bylaws, the values, the mission of the Youth Advisory Council, what they should focus on when they launch in May, when they start in May and June. And so, you know, as a young person said in the focus groups, I think instead of being punished, the youth should be mentored and guided rather than being imprisoned. And so we know that youth know what they want, and they you know, when they are asked the question, they will share their experiences and be truthful to their own experiences. And so we've been very fortunate to meet with many young people throughout this journey and are excited to launch in May.
So exciting. I can't wait for that. I'm so excited to see all the work. And my next question for you is, what do you think will be the biggest value add of the YAC to Alameda County Probation Department once it all launches or launched in May? What do you think the biggest value add will be?
Yeah, so there's a few things that come to mind. And I think the Youth Advisory Council is really a great first step to elevating youth voice and creating positive systems change, right? And within the collaboration with the Alameda County Probation Department, they are really committing to youth voice, and they're saying this is essential to making positive systems change, right? And so they're investing time and money to prepare youth and make space for youth, not just to share their experiences and ideas, but rather so they can be at the forefront of change and planning and executing these changes as partners, as allies, right? And so I remember yesterday I was at the facilities and a young person was talking about their own personal experiences and was saying something along the lines of, you know, what's the point of us speaking up, right? They don't listen to us, nothing will change. And right now, somebody is benefiting from me being locked up. And that's true. As a society, we don't listen to young people. Young people's voices are dismissed. They are not seen as experts. And a lot of the time, they're not given the space to share their own experiences and ideas, right? And so his experience is truly valid. And so when we think about the experiences of our most vulnerable communities and how our young people are not listened to, they're not given space to grow or to share their experiences, the launch of the Youth Advisory Council, this is so significant and that first step to elevating youth voice, right? And on the other hand, later that evening, another young person was talking about their power. They were talking about how it's so important not just to be in front of people who have power, but for they themselves to have the power to make change, right? Because they understood that, yeah, there is significance in being in front of somebody with power and advocating, but there's even more significance in having your own power and having, listen to your own experiences and growing from those experiences, and they're actually making some change. As a young person, a panelist, we were leading a Youth Voice Matters panel a couple of weeks ago, he was referencing, his name is Giovanni Hernandez, he was referencing this quote by Elizabeth Warren. They said, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. And he says that his team, other youth advocates, they kind of change it a little bit, and they say, if you're not at the table and you're on the menu, flip the table and bring everyone with you. And that's kind of the sentiment that we're taking to building the Youth Advisory Council alongside a lot of other youth advocates. When I was doing advocacy work in the community a couple of years ago, another youth advocate said, Halima Barucha, she said, youth are not the future, they are the now.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm so excited to see all the work that's transpiring in Alameda County, and stepping into that power is so important, and also reminding folks in power, how do they share and give up some of their power with our young people? And it really reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from one of our youth justice consultants, who said, too many decisions have made about us without us, and it's time to pull up to the table. And that's what our youth are doing, and they're pulling up. So thank you so much for sharing all the work. And I want to invite all panelists to come back. So I have a final question for all the panelists. You all can chime in with this before we open it up for Q&A from our attendees. But, there's been so much incredible work that our youth advisory councils and other youth, voice initiatives have been doing. And at the same time, there's still a lot to do to elevate the youth voice in our systems and in our communities. So what other opportunities do you see for FLY or others to elevate the voices of our young people? And whoever is ready to jump in and answer that, let me know. Maybe unmute your mic, jump in. We'll see.
I can probably start because I can piggyback off what Jessica said about that little quote about if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. And I was just thinking that the youth basically elevate your voice, having a seat at the table, like be in arenas where you're not, you think you're not supposed to be. Public speaking, like for us, like being on BOS, let them hear you, the board of supervisors, let them hear what you're doing, let them hear your voice. As adults, a lot of times we make decisions, like decisions we made corrected problems in the past, but we don't think about like current and the future. And we think we're doing the best thing, but you have to demand that your voices be heard. And I think when you talk, like an old saying, maybe I'm outdating myself, like E.F. Hutton, like people listen. And I think people will start listening because you guys, regardless what you like to know, you guys are the future, and people are going to start listening. And the more we start listening, that's why, you always say that we as adults, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should be listening a lot more.
Thank you so much, Mr. Utsi. Other panelists.
I see youth advisory councils all over the United States to hopefully inspire and motivate youth from similar situations like me, and then hopefully to make them realize that there is another path, make them see another perspective about the probation department and the juvenile system, and that there really is great community organizations such as FLY out there who are meant to help youth who are placed on probation, and that they understand the difficulties that we go through that sometimes led us to be placed on probation as well. I also see the Santa Clara Youth Advisory Council working with other organizations all around the United States, and hopefully speaking at national panels or like national organizations. Or what would it be called? Like just like big events And I know that the youth advisory has spoken at places such as like Washington, D.C., but I just see more events like that happening in the future, especially with COVID calming down and we're able to travel again. So I'm super excited to see what the future holds. And I have so much faith that the Youth Advisory Council will keep on inspiring and helping the youth here in Santa Clara.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I think it goes along with the quote that the Santa Clara County Youth Advisory Council coined and said, hey, we create the model for the nation and continue to access those platforms to be heard nationwide, which has definitely happened. So thank you for sharing that. Angel or Jessica, any responses to that question? Looks like Angel, you're ready.
The way I see it extending, I see it extending past kind of, I see it extending not only to kind of, preventative work and coupling it with restorative work. During my experience of attending those court hearings for my probation, I still remember seeing the one individual like with handcuffs in his hands and his feet, and this is juvenile probation, so the youth is not even like 20 years old or anything like that. He's younger than that. He's just a kid. And so I see it going past kind of that preventative work and restoring kind of our people that are still incarcerated. I know my own cousin, he's the same age as myself. He's 23 now, and he's been incarcerated for almost 5 years now. And I want to see him free. So that's how I want it to be. I want it to be not only preventative but restorative. Like, we need our people back. Can't keep them in there.
Thank you, Angel, for sharing your wisdom with us in, the freedom, and that it's a both and, right? There needs to be a lot of prevention and restoring that happens at the same time. So thank you. Jessica, giving you an opportunity to chime in before we open it up to our attendees.
Yeah, I just have just one thing to add, but yeah, I do want to thank Angel for his vulnerability and his honesty in that answer. But Susie, I'm a dreamer, I'm a storyteller. And so for me, I can imagine the YC council members everywhere. But I do want to think about, particularly in Alameda County, there is such a community of advocacy here. There's so many advocates who are already doing incredible work. And we want to work together with these advocates, right? There's so much opportunity for young people to be involved in spaces in which they actually get heard. They can speak their truth and they can actually make change. And I want to see young people partner with each other. I want to see young people build adult allies and then become mentors, so they can then build the voices of other young leaders that are coming behind them, right? And so that truly excites me, is having a youth advisory council that will grow, much like in Santa Clara County, that will keep advocating, and that will foster not just the first legends of council members that will come in May, but beyond that.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and all our panelists, to answering that question and really illustrating the possibilities for our young people and for the changes that can transpire across the system in their community. So that's leading us to questions. I know lots of questions are coming in, so we'll do our best to get to them. And the first question that's coming in is, could someone give a specific example of a systems change that's occurred in YAC? So I think this would be really suited for Angel or Stephanie. And Angel, you've worked on a lot of system change efforts in Santa Clara County YAC. Is there any specific one that you'd like to illustrate or share in this space in terms of some of the system change that we've created?
One that does come to mind is the working in partnership with Juvenile Core Aligned Action Network, that we're able to develop kind of a system for youth who get wrapped up in probation and kind of still, if like once they get their charges or anything like that, they're not kind of just like removed from their school. So I know that in that space, I was able to share my own experience, where when I got on probation, there was no really like direct communication with my my school district, and so I believe that I was still enrolled when the fact was they were still deciding whether I was going to come back, and so I missed out like on a whole month of school. And then I also got transferred to a continuation school that was outside of my district, which created some difficulties in transportation and all that. And based on me sharing that narrative, JCAN was able to try and implement into their programs for like continuation schools and all that, so that the youth, if they get any charges or anything like that, they're still able to be enrolled in school and still attend their schools. As one example. Another example is that we're still working on is working with youth that are in DJJ. So trying to implement how they're going to return to their counties and maybe help change how they're going to be received into their counties. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, and those are two examples, specific examples of many of the things. I think a couple that come to mind that, if you all don't mind, that add in of the work. And I know you're currently working on the education resolution for the County of Santa Clara, right? That you all are working with JCAN to put that together as well, which will be a big thing across the county and potentially across the state. And one of the things that really made me very proud of the Youth Advisory Council was the work that they did with the probation department on the dismissal criteria for youth on probation, where the state's really working on trying to pass this across the entire state. But Santa Clara County with the youth gave all the feedback on the dismissal criteria and made it to where youth have reviews after 6 months. So they're not on forever probation or long-term probation. And the youth were able to travel to Baltimore, Maryland, and give a whole entire presentation on why it's important to have these reviews and dismissal criteria in place for young people to be reviewed, and what are those appropriate intervention strategies need to be in place to set up young people for success. So I know that's a huge one that changed in Santa Clara County, in addition to the trainings that the YAC does. And I don't know if there's any other specific examples that Mark or Jessica want to share, and then I'll jump into another question that's come in. But I get really excited because there's so much changes that happen, and I had to illustrate a couple of those.
And I just wanted to add something real quick. First of all, I think that's so amazing, because when I was placed on probation, I didn't really have any trouble following the rules, and my probation officer told me multiple times that she felt as if she didn't think that I had to be on probation. She didn't think there was a need for it. And she told me, I remember I was at the 6-month mark, and she told me she was going to try to figure out what to do to hopefully get me off probation. But since I had signed that contract for the DJJ, which was a year, it wasn't possible. But like now it seems like that's going to be possible for other future youth who are on probation, which is amazing.
Fantastic, thank you. And I know there's lots more examples that we could share with folks. And another question that's coming in, and I think this might be directed to Mark, it might be a follow-up to something that you said, but it says, can you say more about proving yourself worthy of YAC? You know, what that looks like. And I think
Yeah, I can kind of expand on it a little bit. So more so, without knowing the full criteria, but you have kids that they want to be a part of it. They want to see this for whatever reason they want to do it. But what does that look like? What's going to be the expectations of being in this space, right? So you really have to say, like, I think they were very thoughtful to saying people just can't say, I want to be on it and come in. They have to be accepted. They have to hear, you know, the current members will hear why they want to be a part of it. It has to be a vetted process. I mean, it goes through the staff to say, is this person been basically, you know, illuminating these high ideas? Have this person been taking care of their business while they're doing their programming, like at school or going to programs here? Because YAC wants cream of the crop. They want somebody that's passing their, we call them their weeks here, you know, progressing through the program. They want people that are doing that, you know, basically are on almost on autopilot to get through their program and deal with whatever they have to deal with. So they want people like that, not people that are challenging staff or challenging teachers and they want to be a part of YAC, because you have to be able to advocate for yourself and advocate for others. And if you're gonna be challenging people in one setting, and then you want to say, oh, I can come to this group and turn that off and do something. No, you practice what you preach. And so they get those people that are leaders in the pods when people are looking and when people aren't looking. And so those are the type of people, like the vet process. And then I think it's really balanced because you have so many layers of people that say, well, this would be a good person, because they'll send it out to all the staff, right? Say, who would be a good representative from this pod? And then those names will come in. And then from there, you have people that are asking them to write the kid to write recommendations, or the staff to write recommendations why this kid would be good, you know, from there. And then you have the supervisor saying, no, this kid is actually a good pick. But then it has to go to the YAC committee to say, is this person good or not? So there's so many different layers. And it's not about, you know, this is my friend, so he's going to come in. No, they have to say, this person has to be credible and to say, what do you want to change? What do you want to be in this space for? And let's do this space. And so that's what it's about. It kind of polices itself, because with all these criteria to get in there, you can't be, you know, in so many words, as some kids say, faking the funk to get in there. They have to be serious and real about what they want to do with that space. So that's kind of like how they kind of like vet themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Etsy. And this next question, and I'm gonna just ask it together, because it says, you know, what is the criteria for admissions to fly programs in Ranch YC? And since we're really focusing on the youth advisory councils here and not all of our service programs, maybe Angel or Stephanie, you could talk about what's the criteria for a YC member to join the YC. And then and then Mr. Etsy, you kind of hit on some of the criteria for the Ranch YC, but anything that, you know, you missed, you also step in. But Angel and Stephanie, if you want to talk about the criteria there and how we go about recruiting new members.
For the criteria for recruitment on the Youth Advisory Council, we look for kind of, well, we invite youth who have completed probation first off, and then kind of through the age range of 17 to 25. That's kind of the main criterias, but as Mark was kind of touching on, there is kind of like a proving yourself kind of thing that actually happens. I mean, when you're, well, I know for myself, I'm speaking for myself, my own experience, when coming off of probation, there's kind of, like I said, I had that single mentality, and then kind of being a part of something like this. And when you're introduced to all these different ideas that are agreed upon among a group of youth who kind of have the mindset of changing for the positive, it's a bit molding. Like, we have different values. We have the professional values that we have to carry, not only in the space that we hold together, but also within our community. And so it kind of created some difficulty in kind of shifting our perspective and our interactions with the community into upholding those values and carrying them not only in that space, but outside of that space. So yeah, it was really good to hear that, that's the kind of process and how it's going in there and how it went out here. So yeah.
Thank you. Anything to add to that, Stephanie or Mr. Utsi on the ranch side?
So definitely have experience in the system, just because that is that is the youth that we work with. But I think that it really just depends on the person. That's why we have an interview process where we ask a specific set of questions to get to know your perspective on probation, on life, on your future. And I think personally for me, it really was like a positive attitude and a want for change and like that vision of a bright future. So I think that when we are looking for people to join YSC, we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for people who are already professionally developed. We're looking for somebody who has potential to grow, because the person that I am now, I'm nowhere like I've grown so much that I'm nowhere near the person that I was 3 years ago. And I think that's what's really amazing for YSC. They've been so patient with me. They've been so patient with everybody. And I think they're looking for potential and somebody who is consistent, which is the most important thing. And what I've came to realize in the last 2 years is that growth takes a long time. You can grow in a week, you can grow in a month, but like the growth that you will see in a year, 2 years won't ever compare to the growth that you'll see just overnight. That's all I have to say, but I do want to say that I am reading everybody's comments and I really appreciate all the feedback and all the love. I really, really do. So I will pass it off to whoever wants to go.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I think that was well said for both of you. And Mark, I know you hit on some of these things, but if there's anything you wanted to add to that.
I just, I was smiling because she said, about growth. She's spot on with when she talked about growth, and I think we do look for that potential too. It's not the popularity contest. It's who has that potential, and we really look, and that's from most of the youth at the ranch. Everybody's assigned a counselor, so whoever their counselor is, that one-on-one counselor, they also put input in there because they really want their person to be in this council. But at the same time, they know that being in the council, it's a heavy lift as well, because they know that if I know you're a part of the council, then you're held to a little bit different standard. I mean, you should be walking around with those ideas and values right there on your shoulder so everybody can see it at every time. So people know it's serious. And I hope it just translates for them to when they do get out, so she's right. I appreciate the comment about the growth. I really, really do.
Yes, well, thank you for that. And I know our youth advisory councils have code of honor and oaths that they have. Young people they take it very seriously because these are youth-led spaces and youth-inspired spaces, and they want to make sure that the individuals that are invited in are taking that space seriously. So thank you so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you so much tonight. Each of you brings and impacts the world in such a deep way and in different ways. And I'm just so excited that all of you were able to join us tonight and answer all our questions. And I definitely know we're gonna now conclude. I'm gonna pass it back to Katie, but so much appreciation for each and every one of you tonight and for everything that you shared. And Katie, I give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Susie. What an amazing panel. What an incredible conversation about the power of youth voice and our Youth Advisory Council model and the incredible things that our young people are doing. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We loved talking to you about this topic. This series has been really wonderful for us. Originally, we were planning to do 3 of these, and this is our 3rd installment. And now we're hoping to continue to do these because we've had such great engagement, and everyone has gotten so much out of these, including myself and our Fly staff and our young people. Some other ways that you can get involved with Fly and with our movement for justice and the great work that we're doing beyond our programs is you can follow us on social media. We're sharing a lot about our work via social media. We're sharing a lot about our systems change efforts via social media. We have multiple ways for you to follow us, so please take a look at our social media and follow. You can also donate to Fly. Thank you so much. I know we have some incredible loyal donors on this webinar tonight. Thank you for those of you who have donated. For others, if you'd like to join the Fly family and donate, we would love to get your support in this special way. We know not everybody can support by giving their riches, and so we also invite you to consider volunteering or participating with Fly in other ways. You can donate online at flyprogram.org or via check, and I'm always open to answering any questions about our Fly support and how you can do more. You can email me at katie@flyprogram.org. Finally, stay tuned. We hope to host more of these Movement for Justice series in the future. So stay tuned for more information about our next Movement for Justice series. We've already started talking about it and planning. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate you supporting our young people and the incredible work they're doing. Thank you to Susie, our moderator. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Mark, Angel, Stephanie, and Jessica, and everyone. Please have a great night. Bye-bye.